That person who claimed to love you never actually saw you. What they loved was a version of themselves reflected back through you. Carl Jung called this shadow projection. And once you understand it, every toxic relationship in your life will finally make sense. The love you thought was real was actually them falling in love with their own hidden traits that you seemed to possess. When those traits disappointed them or failed to match their fantasy, the love disappeared because it was never about you in the first place. This psychological mechanism destroys more relationships than infidelity, addiction, or money problems combined. Jung discovered that humans unconsciously project their suppressed qualities onto others, creating false connections that feel incredibly intense but ultimately crumble. Every person carries what Jung termed the shadow, the collection of traits, desires, and qualities they have rejected about themselves. These rejected parts do not disappear. Instead, they live in the unconscious mind, waiting to be projected onto other people. Someone who has rejected their own creativity will become obsessed with creative people. Someone who has suppressed their anger will be drawn to passionate, fiery personalities. Someone who denied their own vulnerability will seek out sensitive, emotional partners. The projection feels like love because it fills a missing piece of their psychological puzzle, but it creates a devastating trap for the person receiving the projection. When someone projects their shadow onto you, they do not see your actual personality, your real struggles, or your authentic self. They see their own disowned qualities reflected back at them. This creates an intoxicating but unstable foundation for any relationship. The person doing the projecting will shower you with attention and affection. They will claim you are everything they have been searching for. They will make you feel special, chosen, and deeply understood. But this intensity comes from their unconscious recognition of their own hidden traits in you. The moment you fail to embody their projection perfectly, the love begins to fade. When you show aspects of yourself that do not match their internal fantasy, they become confused, disappointed, or even angry. Real love requires seeing and accepting another person as they truly are. Shadow projection creates pseudo-love based on unconscious fantasy. The person believes they love you, but they actually love the idea of you that their mind has. Observe the projected relationships follow predictable patterns. The initial phase feels magical because both people experience the thrill of psychological completion. The projecting person feels whole, while the person receiving the projection feels deeply valued and understood. But projection cannot sustain real intimacy. As day-to-day reality sets in, the person doing the projecting begins to notice that you are not the perfect embodiment of their shadow. You have your own thoughts, feelings, and reactions that do not align with their unconscious expectations. The love was never about your actual qualities, your real personality, or your individual worth. It was about their internal psychological drama playing out through you. If you are finding value in understanding these psychological patterns that shape your relationships, consider subscribing to this channel. We explore the deeper mechanisms behind human behavior that most people never learn about, giving you the tools to recognize and navigate these dynamics in your own life. Several clear indicators reveal when you have been the target of shadow projection rather than genuine love. The relationship began with unusual intensity and moved very quickly. They claim to have never met anyone like you before. Often within days or weeks of knowing you, they praise you for qualities that felt slightly off or exaggerated. They might have called you incredibly strong when you felt vulnerable, or incredibly calm when you felt anxious inside. Their perception of you did not quite match your internal experience of yourself. When problems arose in the relationship, they seemed shocked that you were not handling things the way they expected. They acted as if you were not being yourself, when in reality, you were simply being human. They became disappointed or critical when you needed support, showed weakness, or reacted emotionally to stress. The qualities they initially loved about you suddenly became sources of frustration. Being the target of shadow projection creates specific types of emotional damage. You begin to question your own identity because their perception of you felt so compelling initially. You might find yourself trying to maintain the version of yourself that they fell in love with, even though it was never completely authentic. Many people who have been projection targets develop a deep fear that they are not lovable as they truly are. They internalize the message that love is conditional on embodying someone else's fantasy rather than being accepted for their authentic self. The sudden withdrawal of intense love leaves lasting confusion. You cannot understand what changed or what you did wrong. The truth is that nothing changed about you. Their projection simply wore off as reality set in. Understanding the psychological experience of the person doing the projecting helps explain why the love felt so real initially. They genuinely believed they had found their perfect match because you seemed to embody everything they were missing in themselves. Their unconscious mind recognized traits in you that they had rejected or suppressed in their own development. This recognition triggered powerful feelings of completion and wholeness. From their perspective, you were the answer to their psychological fragmentation. The projection is inherently unstable because it is based on unconscious fantasy rather than conscious recognition. As they spent more time with you, reality began to interfere with their projection. You revealed aspects of yourself that did not fit their internal template. Rather than adjusting their perception to accommodate your full humanity, their unconscious mind began to withdraw the projection. The love that felt so intense started to feel forced or absent altogether. Asterisk recognition is the first step in breaking free from projection dynamics. When you understand that certain intense attractions are based on shadow projection rather than genuine compatibility, you can begin to evaluate relationships more clearly. Real love develops gradually as two people see and accept each other's full humanity. It does not require you to be perfect or to embody someone else's missing psychological pieces. Authentic love appreciates your actual qualities while accepting your limitations and flaws. People who have worked on integrating their own shadow are less likely to project unconsciously onto others. They have developed awareness of their rejected traits and can take responsibility for their own psychological wholeness. Jung believed that understanding projection was essential for psychological maturity. When you recognize that someone's love was based on projection rather than genuine recognition of who you are, you can stop taking their withdrawal personally. Their inability to love you as you truly are reflects their own psychological limitations, not your worth as a person. The love you deserve comes from someone who can see and appreciate your authentic self, including your imperfections and contradictions. Shadow projection reveals more about the person doing the projecting than it does about you. Their intense initial attraction followed by disappointment or withdrawal is a pattern they will repeat until they develop greater self-awareness. The pain of realizing they never truly loved you opens the door to finding relationships based on genuine recognition and acceptance. Understanding Jung's insights about shadow projection protects you from confusing intensity with intimacy and projection with authentic love. Real love sees you clearly and chooses you anyway. Shadow projection sees a fantasy and disappears when reality intrudes. The difference determines whether a relationship can sustain genuine intimacy or remains trapped in unconscious psychological drama. The truth about shadow projection explains why some of the most intense relationships in your life ultimately left you feeling unseen and unlovable. They never loved you because they never actually saw you. They loved their own rejected qualities that they unconsciously projected onto you. This understanding frees you from the endless cycle of trying to be lovable enough for people who are incapable of loving anyone real. Jung's insights reveal that the problem was never with you, but with their inability to integrate their own psychological wholeness. When you stop accepting projection for love, you create space for relationships based on genuine recognition and authentic connection.